Hi guys, today I'm going to be assembling this electronics kit. It's a clock that I got from Deal Extreme, but instead of using the decent Hakko soldering station over here, I'm going to attempt to do it with one of these little cheap USB soldering irons. So this is the kit from Deal Extreme, and it basically came in this baggie, and we'll just empty it out and have a look what we got. So we've got a bag of parts. We've got a USB cable. This clock is powered by USB, and it also has a battery, a little coin cell for retaining the date time, a little real-time clock. Here's a PCB, so you can see it's sort of like a face, like a normal sort of analog clock, but it actually has like the number display here in the middle as well. I'm not sure exactly how this works. Generally you got little LEDs and there's like a pattern as the seconds go by. We'll see how that works. And here's the instructions. So it looks like we've got front and back layout of the circuit there, and just the part designators, or the values really, of each component and where they go. They've then got just a few little bits and pieces here just explaining some really basic things about the kit. Battery as a memory, time function, the goods use 5-volt DC power supply. So yeah, you got your primary supply, which is USB, and then the little battery will keep the time if you unplug it. There's some settings here for setting the year and bits and pieces. So it's obviously running on a little microcontroller, and that would be in this bag here. So I might as well just spittle this out. So this here is a little bit concerning because they've just used styrofoam and like cling film to hold the sensitive electronic parts here. I mean, that's pretty nasty static wise. Like, yeah, not great. Hopefully it's survived that though. And we've got our coin cell here, which I'll just zoom you out so you can see the other parts. So we've got the coin cell here as well, which goes in this holder. Again, we've got the USB cable. A bunch of resistors, and they've written on the tape what the values are there. A ton of little LEDs, some tactile switches, a USB mini jack there, through hole, and some little mounting, nylon mounting hardware. So that looks pretty good. Just a couple of things also. Generally when I'm soldering, this is just more general sort of soldering advice, but this is an excellent soldering iron. It's the FX888D from Hakko. A lot of people would already be aware of that one. It's quite good. What I also do is, to wet the sponge, I keep one of these. It's like a little soy sauce bottle from the 100 yen shop or the dollar shop. And basically I keep some water in there and just keep it on my desk with the soldering station, and it doesn't spill too much, but it's perfect for just wetting the sponge. You can just basically like sprinkle it in there, get that happening. So that'll absorb into that. Also I have this stand here, because I do some production sort of soldering stuff or board repairs and bits and pieces. I use the lead-free solder for some of that sort of stuff, but generally I'm using the leaded solder at the bottom here. So basically these are Loctite brand, and they're like resin core. They're quite good. I keep it really thin, specifically this one down here, and I just sort of like roll that out as I need straight off the stand. So that's really handy to have. You get these little tins of, it's like a tip tinner cleaner. So if your soldering iron tip gets a bit dirty and it's not coming off normally with that, sometimes you can recondition it. So you just get this tin and you get your hot iron and just sort of like roll it around in there a bit, and then clean it as per usual, and it will renew the finish on the tip. So that can rejuvenate the soldering iron tip. Specifically if you're getting like areas of the soldering iron that aren't melting the solder properly, or you're getting issues with heat conduction like that, hit it with that and that'll generally fix it. I also use I use gel like in a syringe for surface mount, but for general flux you can use this sort of stuff. It's like this sort of watery stuff. It's like a texter, and you sort of like push it down and you can use that if you need a little bit more flux than what the solder has in its resin core. Little wire clippers, these are little cheapy ones, but you know, good for cleaning up afterwards. And for cleaning up flux on the board, I generally use isopropyl alcohol. This is some 99.9% stuff. You can also get 70%. Either would be all right. And I use a little little static free brush, and generally with some Kim wipes or some paper towels and things, and that's generally pretty good. So what I'm going to do now, I'm basically going to push this stuff aside because I'm doing it with this, and this is one that I bought a few years back. It was probably from Deal Extreme or something similar. It's just got a simple little USB plug at the back. It's got a button that will like basically switch it on to heat, and then it's got a little LED. The tip is quite small. I'll see if I can get you to focus on that. So you can see the tip is quite small. It's not in great condition. I've only used it a few times, but because it's so small, it doesn't need to dump a load of heat into there. So this is fine for like small components, but when you're doing bigger things like connectors and stuff like that, it might struggle a bit. So yeah, not great. Emergency only really, but you know, for fun, we'll use it today. So I basically just need my power supply for it. Let's see what we got. So that's those, and we'll plug this in. I've got a plug over here. So plug that in, and you can see the lights come on, and that's getting hot. Yeah, so that's already heating up. This could be a good test. We'll see how long it takes to heat up. That's been going for just a few seconds now. It's going to be slower than something like the Hakko, but we'll see how long it takes to melt some lead. There we go. So you see that's melting that solder already there. Again, it's not great, but yeah, there you go. Now I'm sure everyone here is aware of how kits go together. I've been I used to do a lot of kits when I was a kid. Used to use Dick Smith kits. They were the local ones here in Australia. So I'm not going to bore you with putting the parts in and soldering it. If there's anything interesting, you know, in using this iron and things like that, I'll make mention of it. But apart from that, I think we'll just do a bit of a time lapse, and I'll fast forward the video and you guys will see this thing going together. So I've just put some of the LEDs in now, and I've just started soldering the leads just to hold them in place. The immediate issue I'm having with this soldering iron is the light will turn off every now and again. I think it's on a timer perhaps, so I have to keep hitting the button to turn it on, but it's like the heat isn't transferring correctly into the component or into the board. So if I show you on this one here, I'll see if I can get you zoomed in. I'm going to try and solder this outside pin here and see if you can see what the issue is. See, it just turned off then, so I'll turn it back on. Now, if I put some solder in there, just feed a bunch in. That one's not too bad, I guess. It's not beautiful, but I think what the issue might have been is if it turns off, see, it's just turned off again, so I've got to hit the button. Now it's back on. See, it's not sticking. It's a bit of a pain. And it almost feels like the very tip of the soldering iron doesn't get the heat. It's actually the side. You see this? See, it's sort of like not quite hot enough to do its thing. So it's a bit of a pain. I mean, that has actually stuck, but it's a pretty ugly solder joint. And it's like the very tip of this iron, get you to focus on that, the very tip of that iron doesn't get really hot. It's almost like it's only the edge of it. So for example, the very tip there, see, it's not even melting that solder, but the edge of it does, right? See that? So it's like the heat is actually way back here, not at the end. So you have to keep sort of like, when you solder with it, you got to sort of like put it like right over like this, and then try and get contact with the PCB and the pin, and then get it to heat. And it's really dicky. It's a pain in the ass. What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and hit it with some of this and see if that helps in some way. I'm not sure that it will. If that doesn't work, then I'm probably just going to switch to the Hakko, because this is just a failure already. Like, I can't spend hours just playing with a dodgy soldering iron like that. So let me just try and hit it with this. So I'll just move this out of the way. So that's what we're going to use. And I'll just take the top off. And I'll make sure this is on. I'll give it a second to heat up. Basically what we want to do is just touch this in here and get that cleaned up a little bit. See, it's not even hot enough to to have any real effect. You can see the back of it, is it? There we go. This will just re-tin it. But see, it's barely hot enough to, like, usually when you use like a proper soldering iron, it's a pretty quick process to just sort of get it in here and roll it around. You can see I've done it previously and it just goes whoosh and just melts straight in. So yeah, this is not great. Okay, so I've just cleaned that tip again. I'm gonna re-tin it with some solder, and then we'll we'll try this one here that we haven't done yet. Okay, so just, yep. Well, that was a lot easier. Yeah, I'll keep going. See how far we can get before I rage quit. It's definitely better. Okay, so I think, oh, I missed one over here. Just turned off, turn it back on. Okay, so I've soldered at least one pin on all of these LEDs on this board. So I need to go around and do the middle pins now, and then I can trim those leads off and we can keep going. Okay, so that's all 12 LEDs done. That's 24 solder joints there. After re-tinning the tip, it's actually improved quite a bit. It's workable in an emergency, but it doesn't feel very nice. It takes a bit longer to sort of get the solder to wick into the PCB and make a nice sort of fillet. It's actually quite a chore to use because of how slow it is. So I am now going to switch to the Hakko. That's how long I lasted, is like maybe 5 or 10% of the parts that I need to solder on this board. Okay, so that's the completed product there. You can see it's come together quite easily, all through hole. I'll quickly run through some of the things here, but I guess the first thing would be to peel off that plastic. I can't stand leaving that on electronics, so there it is. So we've got this big display on the front. We've got all the little LEDs around the edge here. We've got a light sensor, or an LDR, sitting right here. We've also got a thermistor for temperature here as well. And you can see underneath it's got the actual name of the product. It's a EC1515B version 03. On Deal Extreme it's actually the EC1515A, but looks like they've shipped the newer model, I suppose. On the back we've got all the interesting electronics. So we've got a STC microcontroller here. The actual number is 15W408 AS. And we've got the two push buttons, mode and plus, or the setting adjuster. We've got a real-time clock chip here, which is upside down, but it's a DS1302, which is quite a common real-time clock chip, especially for Arduino and little things like that. This is the watch crystal up here, which will be driving that. Usually these are around 20 to 30 ppm accuracy, which means maybe like a minute a month sort of thing, plus or minus. I'll just have to run this and just see how well it goes, because there's no real markings or identifiers on that crystal, so I'm not really sure what it is. We've got a piezo buzzer down here and a transistor to drive it. Our 5-volt input for the USB, and a capacitor for smoothing, and our big battery holder here to power the real-time clock when the power's disconnected. So I'm about to power this up. Oh, just a couple of other things I should mention. You get this nylon mounting hardware, which I'll connect in a second, and I had a few parts left over, bonus I suppose. So I guess I'll start with putting the real-time clock battery in. I'll just push down in there like that. And I've already plugged in the USB power supply. And just before I do that though, so on the Deal Extreme page they actually show that you can stack these up to make feet. There is actually a clear acrylic case that you can buy with this, which I didn't realize until after I'd sent my order in. So I've actually ordered that separately from Deal Extreme. This kit, by the way, was about, I think it was 20 bucks, something or other. So I don't need them, but you can see now it'll stand up on its own 2 feet. So I'm going to plug the power in now, and drum roll. There we go. You might not be able to see that very well. I'm going to kill one of the lights up here, and I'll reposition this camera here as well, and then we'll have a look at some of the functions and what this clock does. So here you can see the clock face, and I'm hoping that shows up bright enough for you there. So you can see it's got the time on the front here. It's got a little second counter, and you can see it's saying 27 degrees C off of this thermistor here. It's saying 2015, and it's saying 1st of September. So I haven't set the time and date in this thing yet, but maybe we'll do that now. So if I hit the mode button, okay, so I can set the year, then set the date, it's the 1st of October, and I can set the time. It's currently 6:12. There we go. Okay, and we're done. Now the other button here, if I click that, see we've got different modes that we can show this LED ring. So there's that one. I'll just click through a few of these. There's that one where it doesn't have the red LEDs on all the time. There's this one where it basically turns off the second as it goes around. This one here where it sort of shuffles them along. That looks pretty neat. Whatever that is, random, sparkle. Yeah, just another interesting pattern. Looks like it's going to stack them up around the edge here. Some psychedelic sort of stuff here. Epilepsy warning. And just some other sort of LED chaser patterns and bits and pieces. That's pretty nifty. Another spinny one. And we're back to the start again. So it looks like we've got a bunch of different display modes. This thing also does have alarm settings, and it can chime on the hour, and apparently the alarm can just be like a beeper, or it's also got some like tunes like Fur Release and some other bits and pieces in there as well. I actually found some extra documentation on the internet, and I'll leave links to that below. It's actually on a dodgy Baidu site which gave me tons of like, well, Firefox is saying, you know, warning malware and everything. I've downloaded the files, they're PDFs and JPEGs for the schematics and for the instructions, and I've basically virus scanned them, but I'll make those available on my own website, links below. That way you don't have to do the dodgy Baidu thing, and it was a bit of a weird website to navigate anyway, so that should make it easier for you. But yeah, so you can do some different tune things and everything for the alarm. The other thing it can do is you can calibrate the temperature reading. And the other thing is it's this little light sensor. If I cover that, so that's already in bright mode. And then if you switch your lights off in the room, you don't want this thing blinding you or, like, you know, being annoying at night time. So if I cover it enough, you can see it goes to real dim mode. And I'll kill this light over here as well. There we go. So if I cover that, you can see it's still visible. I've got another background light here. But yeah, so that's a nifty feature as well. So I mean, usually when you're building kits, building the kit is where the fun comes and all that. But it looks like we've got a decent little clock project here at the end. Bunch of features, and yeah, it's pretty cool. How accurate it is, don't know. We'll see. Thanks again, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.